What about humans consuming other humans? Is that considered unjust and immoral?
Whoa, hold on a second. How can you even suggest such a thing?
What if someone doesn't engage in direct cannibalism, like killing and consuming another person's flesh, but instead they acquire land, property, money, resources, and social status by killing others?
War?
Is that much different from cannibalism? Hi, dolls?
Do you happen to know what feeds on grasshoppers?
Not sure.
A mouse. And do you know who feeds on mice?
Not sure.
A snake. And do you know who feeds on snake?
Not sure.
A hawk. So, what do you think about the whole animals eating each other thing in the vast food chain ecosystem? Is it unjust and immoral?
I'd say it's a bit more complicated than that, don't you think?
Right. And what about dogs eating other dogs?
Isn't it a bit much to apply morality to that situation?
Exactly. I mean, it happens, right? In reality, there have been cases like a dog in Alaska starving and resorting to eating another weaker dog, leaving just the bones, or an alligator swallowing up a baby alligator that wandered into its territory. But we don't really blame these animals and call them unjust or immoral, do we?
So, what's your point?
Well, here's the thing. I don't believe there's any justice in nature. You were curious about justice, right? So I'm just sharing my realization. What do you think?
Oh, that sounds like quite an important insight. Well then, I have a question for you too. What about humans consuming other humans? Is that considered unjust and immoral?
Whoa, hold on a second. How can you even suggest such a thing?
No, hear me out. You mentioned that animals of the same species consuming each other is a natural occurrence. But why do humans view cannibalism as immoral or unjust? Please don't take offense, but I'm just curious about the reasoning behind your quick judgment.
I see your point. We need to label it as bad to deter people from doing it. If we said it was good, well, you can imagine the chaos that would ensue. That's how we enforce punishment for such acts.
Ah, I see your perspective. That does make sense. Before we move on to the next question, I'd like to mention something important. In times of extreme hunger, it's not just animals like dogs and bears that resort to cannibalism. Throughout history, there have been many cases of cannibalism in both Eastern and Western cultures that we should acknowledge. Actually, there are quite a few fascinating stories related to cannibalism, but we can save those for another time. Okay, on to the next question. This one's significant, so pay attention. What if someone doesn't engage in direct cannibalism, like killing and consuming another person's flesh, but instead they acquire land, property, money, resources, and social status by killing others? Is that much different from cannibalism? Consider this. Humans have engaged in large-scale killing throughout history, often for the sake of gaining various benefits. What do you call that?
War?
Exactly, war. It's a recurring theme in history books. Why do people go to war? What are they seeking? It boils down to land, food, resources, wealth. Ultimately, it's all about economic gain.
To put it bluntly, it's plunder.
Yes, plunder.
In essence, you're saying, how different is directly enriching oneself by consuming the flesh of a murder victim from indirectly enriching oneself through murder? There isn't much of a distinction. After hearing your perspective, it's hard to argue against it.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. Do you remember when World War I and World War II occurred?
In the early 20th century, right? What were the years again?
Yes, practically just yesterday in terms of human history. But aside from the textbook incidents, what was the deeper cause of those wars? In the 17th and 18th centuries, several European countries, including Britain, the first to industrialize and embrace capitalism, entered imperialism, competing to colonize third world countries for raw materials and markets for mass-produced goods.
Ah, I see. So, you're suggesting that while society condemns cannibalism, humanity has surpassed the level of simply consuming a few individuals and has resorted to killing millions or even tens of millions to enrich themselves.
Do you know what happened next? By 1880, European countries had colonized 10% of Africa, but by 1900, that figure skyrocketed to 90%. Britain and France got the lion's share of the colonial pie, with Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Italy, and Germany getting the rest. In 1900, the UK's population was around 40 million, yet Britain came to dominate territories, 10 times its population and 100 times its size.
It's like the entire population of England won the lottery. Ever heard the phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire"?
Exactly. With no new territories left to colonize in South America, Asia, and Africa, any country wanting a piece of the pie had to snatch it from other imperialist powers. The scramble to rearrange power that ensued was the heart of World War I. World War II, breaking out less than 2 decades after World War I, wasn't much different in essence.
So, World War II is infamous for claiming around 60 to 85 million lives, over 2.5% of the world's population. Hitler's regime targeted and murdered 6 million Jews, with 1 million perishing in gas chambers.
Wow, your search speed is impressive.
Hey, Sunkyung, ever heard of the phrase "dog eat dog world" in English?
What?
It's like saying life's a jungle out there, but now that I think about it, it's more like a man-eat-man world. Humans devouring humans. I mean, we don't just kill each other in droves, we also slaughter countless other animals for food. Makes you wonder, what in the world are humans really?